Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to talk. I'd like to briefly spend a few minutes on like a project that we started in lab on building hardware. We're building a cryogenic sample storage chamber. And let me give you a little bit of scientific motivation for this. Why do we actually need such a storage chamber? On the right-hand side, you can actually now see like a little bit of how the storage chamber itself looks like. And so we are doing a lot of imaging of biological tissues. These are samples that are high pressure frozen instead of dehydrated, which means like they're frozen in place or vitrified rather than frozen. So you don't form crystals. Everything stays exactly where it was before. And now the cool thing is you can put this into a ultra high vacuum mass spec, and you can do elemental or isotopic imaging. Now, that's all existing here, but what we didn't have available is one of these like a mass specs costs like, runs north of 7 million dollars, euros at this point. It doesn't really matter, right? These days, so you don't want to store your samples forever in that kind of setup. So what we did construct in-house here with my colleague Florent Plan, is we built a cryostorage chamber that's such that we can take the samples out. It's fully compatible with our system, and we can store them for some time at like around 120 Kelvin in ultra high vacuum. So nothing condenses onto the sample in ultra high vacuum. We are talking 10 to the minus 9, low 10 to the minus 9 millibars. And so Florent built most of the mechanical design for this instrument, but we needed to somehow integrate it and make it user-friendly, such that, and also somehow put some safety on this chamber such that we don't kill the things by accident because of some failure or we have some alarms. So here is the whole chamber now in an overview, how it is, how it looks pretty much today. You see a bunch of instrument clusters on the left-hand side, and you see two screens there as well. The right thing, the red, is actually, here's now an annotated version, is the pump stand. We have in green here all the instruments that we basically purchased that we need to integrate. So we have 4 pumps actually on here. We have our pump stand with 2 pumps included. We have an ion pump to keep ultra high vacuum in the chamber or to suck everything else out. We have vacuum gauges to keep control. And then we have our dock here in the middle. This is like a standard system that we use in all the other instruments that's purchased from Leica, which comes with its own little dock control. And then you see in the middle, let into the table nicely, you see a 10-inch touchscreen, which is our chamber control. And so why am I talking about this? Because we basically integrated this whole thing, hardware or the firmware that runs on our control board, and this whole software and chamber control is all written in Rust. So we have, here's more the schematic overview. We have in the middle, here we have the control board, which I will speak about in a few seconds. And underneath we have our host, which is this ReTerminal 10-inch touchscreen interface. The control board basically is some home-built electronics that communicates mostly via digital input-output with like our baking system, simple relay, cooler safety flow meter. It controls the lights, it controls the valves, and it reads and does a safety interlock on the dock. The dock, you have to imagine, you have an arm that goes in and brings the sample in, and you don't want to be able to, close the valve on your arm. So there's a safety interlock that is designed in hardware, completely independent of firmware, that prevents you from doing these kind of dangerous things to your system. And then underneath in green, we have like the instruments. We have to interface with like a temperature controller, with the pump stand, and with like our various other instruments. So a little bit on the electronics. We designed the electronics ourselves here, and these are actually based. It's basically a fancy header board with that host RaspberryPi Pico2. And this thing, as I said, reads the flow meter, valve states, and so on. And it has a few hardware safety features on it, such that, for example, the cryo cooler needs permanent water cooling. So these safety features are implemented in hardware such that no firmware bug can actually disable the safety that if the water cooling turns off, your cryocooler will stop running. On this Raspberry Pi Pico runs an async executor. There's an S missing, as you see, which was written with the fantastic Embassy framework. For those of you who have done any embedded Rust, it's very, very nice, and it really allows you to have some simple to understand firmware written in Rust. And then this thing, there's a USB port that plugs into the Raspberry Pi Pico, and you have a full USB communication protocol via postcard and postcard-rpc to the host computer, which in our case is then this ReTerminal. We also have to communicate with the instruments themselves, and so most of these are actually serial communication, RS-232 or 485. We connected those via a MOXA or Ethernet server and used the serial port crate. The pump stand itself actually implemented an OPCUA server, which I had no idea what it was before, but it's basically event-based communication, so it will send notifications to variables you observe. Now, the one issue I had in Rust was that most of the instrument drivers, the communication drivers to communicate via serial port, were not implemented. And so one little side project that came out of this that is now getting some new attention is instrument RS, which I designed and is now working over. And so on the right-hand side, you see a simple way of how you can, in the end, this is, for example, for the temperature controller, how you can initiate communications and talk to it. So you have on top, you define your interface, which is basically your serial interface here. This is right now not on an Ethernet. This is just plugged into some Linux machine. And then you call your instrument, and now the instrument should have has various channels to read temperatures, and you can load your channel that you're interested in and get the temperature as a result. And you could print this out and now get your temperature. For the cryostorage, the host software itself is also all designed in Rust. We use a Slint-based UI, which is actually really sweet if you need to or want to write a touch interface. Slint has a Rust-inspired domain-specific language to write the UI in, and it works very well together with Tokyo. We spin out tasks to listen for user interaction from the UI, to call the instrument regularly, display the info, and also to listen to broadcasts from the control board to be informed of all of our valve states and so on. And then the communication here happens with via James Munn's post station, which is actually a very nice integration, not just for postcard-rpc, but also for developing of postcard-rpc protocols and broadcasts. So let me give you a quick tour of the UI, what we have right now. Now you can see actually the main screen that you would get on this ReTerminal. You see basically some basic overview. The sample is warm at the moment. The chamber is under ultra-high vacuum. And you get some simple user interfaces of what a user is supposed to be able to do. Maybe turn on the light, load samples, or name the samples in here. So you have an overview as well at the same time. You get a second screen with the cryo screen, where you see the various temperature sensors that are included. Cryo cooler, you can turn it on or off. The water flow here shows disabled. So you should be able to turn the cryo cooler on right now. And then you also see grayed out buttons that are for the administrators, where you can actually do additional tasks that the user is not supposed to touch by accident. Finally, you have the vacuum screen, where we have a little drawing of how the system looks, where the pumps are with standard pump symbols, what the status is. And again, here, most of this is grayed out since it's more for administrators and not for the user. And setting screen, where you can, for example, set up the baking, also not something a user should do, especially not when samples are loaded. User interfaces are integrated with workflows. You can start a workflow. For example, you can pump the chamber, you get a pressure plot, you see the remaining time, and this workflows guide you through the whole system, what to do next, what you need to keep in mind, and so on. So it's supposed to be fairly user-friendly, made for my colleagues who will not regularly use this system, but only every few months, and so you don't want to learn too many things. In summary, Rust is really wonderful for lab integrations. Here, really, this whole project, the full stack, was developed in Rust. The whole software, communication, firmware, the control board, the UI. The type system really allows you to debug or to work on things without hardware connected. It's very, very helpful. I came out with instrument RS for this. The first version 0.1 has a lot of issues, so I'm like currently overhauling the whole thing, and I've been blogging a little bit about this. So if you're interested in instrument control, have a look. More information on the cryostorage, which is a highly specific application, but the code is up there for you to see here. And yeah, thanks to Rust, our samples now actually stay cool, safe, very importantly, and do not oxidize. Thank you.